Let me check my chat. Um, okay, so um, this all starts, kind of like when you're painting a room, you need to um, you need to prepare the the paint. The prep is, let's see, is the most important part in many ways. So, um, if you've ever sung one of these, you get this this guide video from me. Let's see. Let me go back to Zoom. Um, you get a guide video from me, and um, and it looks something like this. Um, Okay, Sopranos, here is this little section at rehearsal 5, this amazing little phrase. It lasts like less than 30 seconds. All right. Jesu parabola, jam nobis fiat fabula, jam nobis fiat fabula. All right, and viator, qui descendit ab Jerusalem in Jericho. So super fun, I promise. You'll notice there's a ticking kind of time bomb there the whole time. So I've learned, having a clear, loud metronome tick. Something I do not like to do in the world of virtual card making is any kind of retard, any kind of accelerando. Just I like a strict tempo set. It just ends up so much cleaner. So a super loud metronomic click is really important. It's over in a flash. I'm gonna give you 1, 2. 1, 2. Jesu parabola, jam nobis fiat fabula, jam nobis fiat fabula. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Here we go. 1. And Beator, qui descendit ab Jerusalem in Jericho. So that is the really, really, really important step one. And I mean, to give an example for Love Feast, I think I made maybe, um, I don't know, 85 of those videos for Love Feast. And most of them are not 30 seconds long like that one. So, I go into I have an electronic keyboard at the seminary. So that stays at A440, easily, of course. So I just prefer that, and go in there and just knock out a ton of these videos. And if you're a bass, I sound very comfortable singing your part. If you're an alto, I sing it really high and sound awful. But I'm amazed at just no matter how badly I sing, people sing beautifully back. It's great. Um, and then what people do with those videos, as instructed, is you have two devices. Generally you have your laptop that you use as a playback device. You watch that video, put in earbuds or put on headphones, and play that back. And I usually just prop my phone up on my laptop screen, and shoot video of me singing along, with the earbuds. I like to drop one of my earbuds so I can hear myself sing. Some people like to use both. Excuse me. And then you take a phone video, and which I gotta say, a basic iPhone takes extraordinary video. I mean, I did every bit of Love Feast on my just regular old iPhone. I say regular old, it's expensive technology, but just I'm astonished at the recording quality, the video quality, of just your standard smartphones. So I've learned that laptops do not record as well, but phones do beautiful work. And then there's the upload process, which is always interesting. you can do through Google Drive, you can do through Dropbox. I like a site called WeTransfer.com. I learned about them from Choristers Guild. Generally these can, or this little 30-second snippet, some people have been able to text them to me and things like that. I think that's what Jack did. But most videos are way too long to be texted or emailed directly. And there have been, a couple church members, early on who were like, I'm not sure how to do this. And there was one, choir member I even met in the Food Lion parking lot and, with their phone and just talked through, okay, this is how to do it. Because it's that in some ways is the hardest part, is to figure out, if you're not used to all that uploading and sending, it is an experience until you get used to it. Yeah, and then I get videos, and then I upload them or download them, I guess, from the internet through Google Drive or WeTransfer. I did these files are massive, and the video making is massive, so I had to get another. This computer is something the church got me, only a few months before the pandemic, but I within a short period of time, I had already filled up all the memory I had on this pretty sizable laptop. So I picked up a 2 terabyte external hard drive, which I have sitting on my computer, and just it has all the video stuff. So I download all the videos. Let's see if I will do another screen share here, that come in from folks, and it's always fun. It's like Christmas, and let's see. Okay, now, all right, this is just going to be messy, but all right, I think you all can see my files here, so I put them in folders. Here's the Cantata Misericordiam folder, and then the section 1 to 3. Here's the section 5, which is what we're going to do today. Now, one really cool trick I learned, because we start with the audio. I always start with audio. In these, it is much easier, I find, to do audio first. And one of the first things I will do is go into my Finder here on my Mac and go into Services, and I need to make audio files to sit next to the video files. So we'll find out if all these things work while screen sharing. I think they do. Set that to audio only. So I've got a couple for Lee and for Glenna that I need to add an audio file for. Oh, I see Linda here too. Haven't done that one. And Ann Knox, gotta do that one too. So into Services. This is a super handy Mac feature. Okay. All right. So now I've got video files and audio files. I will now open this program called Logic Pro. I'm just assuming this is all visible and heard here. Okay, we'll close this out. Start new, close. All right, I've got so far 11 tracks. Okay. So I assume that's all sort of sharing okay and visible so far. Okay, good. I start with the audio. I use this program called Logic Pro, which is basically, if you're a Mac user and have GarageBand, it's sort of like GarageBand on steroids. So it's the paid version, the next notch up. You can do all this on GarageBand. Just Logic Pro gives me a lot more options. So, you can do a lot of audio stuff in the video software, but it's just much easier to do it separated out. So, all right, here we go. Let's see. I'm just going to keep sharing the desktop, I think is the way to go. And we select select all of the audio tracks. Should be able to drag them all in. Use existing tracks, yes. There we go. Now you can see everybody, their names are here, all lined up, all pretty. Let's see. And what I usually do is just, start, start in. Sometimes I will do claps to help line up. I didn't do it with this particular piece. All right. So I can solo out tracks. So here I've got a, just Paige singing here. Okay, and you can see there's a visual representation of what's happening with the music, and what I do more and more is line up things visually first. Just do a little bit of trimming here, and I can set the cursor or whatever, the playback arrow back. It's a lot of sliding around, and yeah, okay. So, and then you sort of use your ear, and I'm like, sounds like I'm a little too overzealous with my speed there. I sound like in my head. Okay, so we've got 2 going there, and then let's do Lee in the same way. And this does get easier with experience, I found, to line folks up. Okay, let's see. We've got Linda here, Linda Peebles, back. Okay. And you can see the visual signal from Linda is smaller. Sometimes this has everything to do with, the kind of equipment being used, or just quieter voices, and sometimes I don't get any visual at all, which is especially tricky. Okay, so we've got those 2 and Lee. Let's see. Let's do Helena. And it's pretty good. So sometimes I'll go in and just. Yeah, I think that will do for us. All right. And let's see, who have I not gotten to? And Knox. sounds like she's just a little ahead. So move that over just a little bit. Move her one more notch. Okay, let's see. Eleanor. And just kind of estimate and see how it sounds. Perfect. Okay. Wonderful. And Erica. Beautiful. And Glenna. Isn't this fun? All right, not too many more to do. There will be some boring moments in this. All right, sounded like Glenna was just a little behind, so let's just bump that up a little bit. Let's try it again. Yeah, that will do. That's good. All right, and then Jack. Let's actually go. I'm going to use me as a basis for that. All right, we do. Gesù parabola, nobis fiat fabula. Still a little bit ahead, so let's knock that down one more. Gesù parabola, nobis fiat. Awesome. We got that there. And then Ken.
Gesù parabola, nobis fiat fabula.
Yeah, and then I can take off the solo function, so I can listen to all of them at once. Here.
Gesù parabola, nobis fiat fabula, nobis fiat fabula, nobis fiat fabula, nobis fiat fabula. Viator, qui descendit ab Jerusalem in Jericho.
And that's where we are for now. So just going to check in and make sure I still see people. And okay, good. All right. Yeah. So that's the basic process of getting everybody kind of lined up. I'll do a little bit more sort of touching up here. So I'll play with. Let's play with the audio just a little bit more, and see what we can do. Yeah. Okay. So just to sort of give you an idea of some of the fun things I can do in the software. So I'm going to highlight myself. I can go in and do this sort of flex time editing for any of the parts. So say, let's see, say that I came in at the beginning, solo myself out. Say I came in, too early on that opening entrance, and I want to back it. I want to to back that up, I want to be a little bit later. So I can actually just sort of set these a little sort of bookmark here, a little placeholder, and then can go in here and I can compress the audio and actually make me come in later, which is incredibly useful. Like, you know, if somebody you know, misses an entrance or misses a final, you know, a final consonant, or you've got a, you know, a stray consonant or something at the end of something. It's that kind of editing is the stuff that the people who do like one of these, you know, one of these every 6 months, they can just polish and, you know, get everything to be exactly right. I churn out about one of these a week, so I do a little bit of editing like this, but you know, the people who are taking in videos from, you know, gosh, who's the famous virtual choir person? His name escapes me now, but you know, those people are doing a lot of editing like this of just getting everything to line up perfectly. I actually kind of like it to sound, I mean, A, I don't have the time or the patience to do a lot of this, and B, you know, I actually sort of like it to sound a little bit more natural. At some point, you know, if you get it too clean, it sounds impossibly processed. But you know, pretty interesting, and it's an incredibly useful tool, because there will be pieces where I will say, like, you know, okay, the, you know, rhythmic, being together rhythmically, and this phrase is so important because this phrase is so incredible rhythmically, and so I will actually take the time and get everybody perfectly lined up for that particular phrase, and we'll ignore some others. And then, you know, Logic Pro also has this amazing thing called Flex Pitch, which is really fun to tell choir members, you know, if you miss a note, it's no big deal. I can change it. And there are, you know, some little exceptions to that, but, you know, it's I think in the basic GarageBand, you can do some auto tuning, which will line up the pitches to, you know, to the notes in the scale, and that can sometimes, you know, be a problem because it will if something is actually closer to a wrong note than a right one, then it will go to a wrong note instead of the right one. It can be a little bit tricky. When you upgrade to Logic Pro, you actually get the Flex Pitch, which is an amazing thing. So let's see, what if I wanted to change? Okay, so there's my opening phrase. You can see here on the at the bottom of the screen, these rectangles are the pitches as they go by. All right, higher for higher pitches, lower for lower pitches. There's a little keyboard off on the left that you might be able to see that gives you an idea of what the actual notes are. I can go into this pitch, and this is so amazing. I can go in and I can change the note. I can change it. I can make it any note I want, which is, you know, a really amazing feature. I've actually gone in and, you know, I took, for something for the seminary in January, we didn't have a middle alto part. I just never recorded it. So I took someone else's alto 2 part. I just recorded it again and just changed all of our pitches to fill in the notes in the middle, and it totally works. So that is fantastic technology, and I will tell you that does not work in real time. So it's really neat. I can not only change the pitches, I can fine tune them. I can reduce vibrato to nothing. I can put the vibrato back. I can actually take individual pitches and make them louder or softer, which is just an amazing thing. I can also go in and you know, I can boost through this automation business. I can boost or lower volume in a particular section, which is really nice if, you know, if some particular phrase needs, you know, I want it to come out a little bit, or sometimes if, you know, someone got a little far from their phone, that's really that's really handy. So the software gives us a lot of options. Um, and then, often I will go in and do a little bit of I don't do much, but I will do a little bit of an EQ boost for for basses. Just bringing up, like turning up the bass knob on your stereo, if you're old enough to remember such things. So just giving it a little bit more depth here, and then um, I will also go in and do, a little bit of um, reverb. I like to make it sound like the about like our church sanctuary. I don't. It's a little bit weird because people are singing in their homes and it doesn't sound like their homes, but I don't know that I really want it to sound like people's homes. Um, Excuse me. So if you listen to all this together,
Jesu parabla, pro nobis fiat fabula, pro nobis fiat fiat fabula.
it's a little bit echoey, but once I get a piano in there and other instruments, um, it will be just it'll be just fine. Um, so um, that's so sort of at a halfway point. I'd like to check in and see faces and um, so that's the audio process. I'm about ready to dive into um, the video. I don't know. Maybe I'll take a second and ask Whitaker. That's who it is. Derek Whitaker. He's a virtual choir king. Has been doing this forever. Forgot the name. Um, but maybe I'll take a second and ask if there are questions um, about um, about sort of the audio half and sort of what I've talked about so far. Let's see if I can take you off of mute. Ask all. Or let's see. Yeah, I'll just make it a free for all and ask anybody to unmute. Yes, Anne. What do you think?
Had you I mean, had you worked with, was there anything that gave you any clue as to how to use this?
Yeah, I mean, there was the Choristers Guild video, like gave me some good indications. Just gave me a good place to start, and it's just watching something very much like what I'm doing, except you know much more meticulously created. It was a musician down at Preston Hollow Presbyterian in Dallas who just knew how to do this from the beginning, and
And did you just have to set up another computer and watch it while you were doing? I mean,
no,
I'm just,
no, I watched this video, and then it's a lot of trial and error. And actually, I found a lot of, you reach these moments where like, the software should do this, and so a lot of Google searches. I watched some YouTube videos, and it just kind of I've done 45 of these, so just
it just sort of, it looks like an 80-hour work week to me.
Amy says it is. Yes, it's a lot, but I mean, and I'm not a recording engineer, but just you just and I keep thinking about. I mean, a lot of these pandemic skills we're developing. When you watch that the oh gosh, what is that Tom Hanks Castaway movie or whatever, where at the beginning he's struggling to catch a fish in the tidal pool, and then at the end he just throws a spear and catches three without thinking about it. So just it gets, a lot of things get easier, and just you get more fluid with it. It gets faster, and you just get a better eye for it and better ear for it. But there are things that stump me all the time, and but yeah, it's interesting. I don't know, any other.
Hey, Doug,
Yeah.
do they make any like hardware controls to help you like instead of having to just like pan with your hand on a trackpad, do they have like little knob things you can add to your computer to let you do?
Probably do. I've actually heard people say, Doug, you need to get a mouse. Like, and I've heard that mouse control. I do way too much. It's not. I don't mind the track control so much on the audio, but the video, like, you get kind of creepy fingers after a while, because you're all the resizing, which I'll show in a minute, is just a total headache. So I'm sure there are, and Alfred Walker might have like, as an actual recording engineer might have some suggestions too, because I do get tired of the trackpad. Alfred, any thoughts?
buy a console that puts everything you're doing with your trackpad. Yeah, it exists.
Yeah.
Probably from $50 up to $5,000, depending on
Yeah.
where you want to jump in.
I mean, it was funny I looked at this computer, which is a MacBook Pro, pretty sizable, not the bottom of the line by any means. And then I'd never really looked at what the top of the line Macintosh computers are, and they're and Alfred knows this, maybe others of you know it, $65,000 computers out there. And now I see why people have computers that cost that much, because it does strain. Even a mid-level new computer is strained by all this. So it's interesting. Okay, well, I'm going to jump into a little bit of video now. So let me go in, just because I think it makes it easier for folks if I...
All right, Doug, can Bob ask you one question?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah. Is this something that a small church choir that's got 8 or 10 people in it, assuming that they learn how to do this, but is this something that is this easy to do? Not, I don't mean.
Can it be done?
Can it
Yeah.
be done by?
And I talked to all sorts of folks, just through the seminary, especially, and I've talked to some pastors and musicians, all over the place, and the smaller the project, the easier it is, like by far. So if you've got 4 or 5 singers you want to put together for a verse of a hymn, that's really doable. And a small church could do a duet, you could do a trio. Like, that's actually really, with GarageBand and iMovie and there is PC software that does all this stuff as well. I just don't know it, but it there are the parallels out there, in the PC world. And yeah, I mean, if you want to put together a quartet, it's going to take some work the first few times, and some people have a better knack for the stuff than others, but still it's not terribly hard. The bigger the project, the harder it gets, and if you're trying to do some fancier things. But yeah, it is very doable.
Seems like that's especially now, while where everybody's staying at home.
Yeah.
It gives a blow to the music in churches is not what it used to be
No.
in the old days, but this sounds really good.
It does a thing. Yeah. I mean, it's a way of, in a way of just sort of creating. I mean, the biggest win, I think, is for the people who sing the stuff, and there is that amazing moment, when you click and unsolo everybody and the voices all come together, and I think it's still, I mean, we're a little bit over it, to be sure, but there is still something pretty beautiful about hearing our voices singing with others, and it's, there are the pluses of, we can sing with folks that live out of state. We can sing
That's cool.
Yeah.
college. We can, but singing together is still so important. And I love, Martha Burford is down there. She is a colleague in Lexington, Virginia, right? Yeah. And I love singing stuff for her and for others, because it's just great to sit down and sing. And this is a way that I don't sing non-pandemic in this way. My kids take algebra too. I don't have time to go to rehearsals, but I can knock out a track, on a Thursday morning in front of my computer and really enjoy doing it. But
there's some basses in Lexington who were just like, wow, he's got that low D. When Doug did.
I can have a low anything. I just, you make it anything to low D. And I will tell you, like for the children's musical, like there was one phrase that I just wanted to be, I wanted them to nail on one of these songs, and then went up to high F, and I jacked kids up an entire octave to reach that high F, and they sounded like $1,000,000, and I'm like, yep, you had that. That was great. So, all right, let's move on to mute. Oh, let's see. How do I? Now I'm all confused. Oh, mute all. There we go. Okay, so let me mute all and go on to a little bit of video stuff here. All right, so I've got Final Cut Pro, which is basically iMovie on steroids. And if you use Final Cut, I discovered you have to have an external hard drive. It is not optional. I couldn't even get through a single project in Final Cut without an external hard drive. So let's see, we've got Cantata Misericordiam. All right, let's go in and start a new project, and then choir rehearsal 5. And okay, so I've got a blank project. iMovie works a lot like this, not entirely, but a lot like this. This is just kind of the next level up. Oh wait, forgive me, forgot. I will go into Logic Pro. I will select all, and I will bounce, which is basically sharing it. I'm creating an audio file of the whole thing here. I'm just doing this all live. Okay. Audio first pass. Okay. We bounce. Okay, which basically means it's taking what I made it in the audio file and saving it, as something you could play on your iPod or your iPhone. It just saves it as something like an MP3 file. Okay, so something critical I learned from that Chorus Circle video is you start with a black screen. So I come in here, I drag down a basic black screen for this, and that just gives me a blank screen to work with. I've done the audio separately, so I'm going to drag in the audio here, and this is just pretty rough. Okay, so what I have here is a black screen and the audio. Okay, so I've made a movie, just not much to look at the moment. Let's see, and I'm gonna check in. Yes, everything. Yep. Okay, everything is sharing the sound and everything. That was fine. Okay. So let's go back in, and then what I will do is I've got 11 singers. We're going to pretend that's 12. This is some of the messiest stuff. What I'll do is I'm actually going to change out that black screen for a grid. I kind of hate these grids, but they do work. Okay. And then I look at this grid of green lines, and let's see, I need to make this into 12. So I need another vertical line, right? Yeah, that makes 12, right? Yeah, because 11 is a fairly prime number. So, but 12 will be close enough. And then what I do is just drag everybody in one by one. This is something iMovie will only do 2 of at once. where Final Cut will do as many as your computer will stand. All right, so now I can see in the audio at the bottom, I can see where the audio really begins. You know, you've got that big bump up, and I can see where I have in my file a bump up. So I'm going to set my little cursor there and just kind of move it over until it looks about right. Let's see how I did. All right, it's a little bit quick, but pretty good. The period button makes it move, the period key makes it move slightly to the right. So, okay, I've got double audio, so now that I've heard myself sing and lined it up, I will eliminate my audio. All right, now here comes the part that I really like the least, but it does work. I will go through and crop my video. This is a little bit of trial and error. And just kind of put myself in the grid. And see how we do. And Rick, this is where I just get tired of my trackpad and really should get a mouse, but then I'd have to get a bigger desk. All right, and it kind of snaps that to fit. Let's scale that down maybe to 39. All right, actually that was pretty lucky. Screen share luck here. It doesn't usually work quite this well, but all right, so I've got myself in the grid. Let's drag in, who is this Ann Knox person? Let's drag her in. Okay, again, I look at Ann Knox's audio, and see, I bet she starts about here. All right. That'll work. That works great. All right. And then, you know, we've got Ann Knox reading music, which makes perfect sense, as one should. Not everybody has it memorized like I do. But I can crop that out. Let's see, just need to change the view a little bit and try it again. All right. Heck. This is a temperamental process, if there ever was one. All right, now people who do these know that I will ask people to submit horizontal videos because in the end we're making a horizontal full video. It is much easier, and that was about 40%. Let's see where the 40 gets us. Not bad. Then I'll kind of uncrop a little bit just to. So it's just like working with images inside of, you know, a Word document or something like that. You know, it's cropping and resizing and cropping and resizing. And okay, Eleanor. Oh yeah, okay. So I do not understand this whole SDR sort of business. Sometimes videos come in looking like this. So I believe it is exposure I need to adjust. So I don't know much about this sort of color saturation exposure business, but generally sort of play with it until it looks about like it did when it came in. Sometimes there are weirdnesses. Okay, now let's get Eleanor lined up. Excuse me. And just set the cursor there. All right, Eleanor's slow, so I've got the comma key a bunch of times. So get her closer. Sometimes I just sort of walk. Fabulous. All right, and then go through. Isn't this exciting? Go through and do a little bit of resizing. And 40. I think iMovie has this sort of transform function basically where you move the video around. About 47. Oh. I don't have very high standards for how well these rectangles fit in, but I try to get them fairly close. I have Erica. All right, Erica seems quick there. And the only thing with the video is just making sure it looks good. It's funny that sometimes, you know, like Dr. Ken Wood, he prepares much earlier than a you know, a volunteer in the choir. You know, he is a professional opera singer, so his face will prepare sooner. I will sometimes actually make him sing later, just because it will track better visually. It's just kind of interesting. We all. Erica not blinking there. Sorry about that. All right. And so we resize. Let's see, we crop first. Sorry. And I won't be able to do all of these in time, and never really thought I'd be able to. But okay. And what happens if we make her 40? Make her 39. And then crop. Okay. You know, eventually what I would then go in and do, I won't do all of them, so I'm going to take a few questions. This at least is a decent intro to this. I would go through and replace and start, so I put the black screen back, and then
Jesu parabla, pro nobis fiat fabula, pro nobis fiat fiat fabula.
Nobis fiat fabula.
No tenors in that one there. But yeah, let's see if I can get myself back to Zoom. Oh, full screen. Hold on. There we go. Let's see. All right. So that's that's a little bit of an introduction. I couldn't quite get an entire video finished in the time allotted, but a little bit of an introduction. I'm looking at Sherry McCormick's like, I sent you a video. Where's my video in that? I sometimes need to check. So, and I'm sure I do have one from Sherry. And that is one of my worst nightmares, that I will forget somebody. And I try to be very meticulous about not. But we're not down to the 11th hour yet. Erica's kids are very amused by all the blinking. That's good. Yeah. Any other questions or comments? Let me get everybody off of mute here and back. Participants. Ask all mute, unmute. That's the start of video process, and then I will create. It basically involves creating an entire choir video, and say I want to put a piece of art over top of it. I will often create the whole choir video, save it as a single video, bring that back in, and put art over it, or I will save it all, and then I will put in specific singers singing at certain times over top of it. There are lots of sort of fun things you can do from the video end. But yeah, any questions or comments or?
Yeah, Doug, I'm just glad to see this and how it's done. I appreciate very much
Oh, sure.
all your work, but I especially appreciate it now. All the hard work, the hours and hours and hours it must take to do this. Thank you.
And sometimes it's a little bit like home renovations. Sometimes a project just goes by like a breeze, and sometimes it's a lot harder than you thought, and rarely is it in the middle. So I mean, sometimes it's not too hard to knock one out, and sometimes it can take quite a while. The Love Feast stuff that happened. I did the last recording on Friday night. For Love Feast, and just put in 18-hour days and got that all knocked out. And the trickiest part is when the files get so large, when the files get large and you have a lot of people in them, then the computer really starts to sputter to save, and so you have to save in quadrants, in groups, and it's an important discipline for 7-minute pieces. You have to do in very small groups and keep saving, because otherwise the computer just can't handle it.
The other question is related to when you add in the organ or the piano instrumentation, and how do you do that?
I very often I will either take one of my click track videos and just go in and play for it, or sometimes I will get the whole thing finished. Like for the gospel video I did for Love Feast, for what will you bring the king, I had that entire thing basically finished, and it needed a bass line, and so I went in and I listened to the mix at the end and just laid down the bass track on the keyboard, and so sometimes I'll just go in and add it at the end, which I like, not playing to a metronome, and just as much as possible. Though it can be funny when there's a piano introduction and then you want to cue it gets messy, but figure something out. So yeah.
So I'm still astounded at the one you guys. What was the one you did with the group from the seminary? The
Coventry Carol.
Coventry Carol. Just that the tuning just seemed so incredible for people doing that remotely. It really seemed. So did they start with you singing one of the parts? How did that work?
That's right. Yeah, it starts with a guide video of me clicking a metronome and me singing each part individually, so they get their own part.
So you sang each of their parts
each of their parts with an electronic piano, so it's right at 8440, so it's perfectly in tune. And then for that video, there were places where I really wanted that to just lock in tune, and so I went in through the flex pitch, and I would pull vibrato out at certain points and just pull things perfectly in tune for certain moments. If you do too much of that, it sounds artificial.
No, what I was wondering about that actually too, with the
false relation, I wanted that to be exactly right.
Right, but also I was actually. So it's interesting you said that about the vibrato, because I did notice that most people did not have a lot of vibrato, which surprised me a little bit.
Yeah, there are times when usually I don't touch it, but there are times where I'm like, the vibrato here is getting in the way a little bit, and so I can just pull it out, just a little bit, just to I I don't want to make everybody sound artificial, but times where just because I can, for this note or that note, but you can do lots of fun things with tuning, and and if you have a million hours, you could just tune everything, that way. But with a human amount of time, I will go through. For that project, there were moments where I just lock things in tune, and then it's something that's way out of tune. If someone misses a note, or is way under pitch somewhere, then it's pretty easy to it's necessary to go in and. But that was also a nice small project with like 5 of us. So
so my question really is sort of the flip side of that, which is what's your experience with individual singers' ability to tune? Like in that kind of piece, the tuning is so it's almost not, in a sense, A440 tuning.
Oh gosh.
And so how do you get that? You can hear it yourself when you're singing with people, but it's very difficult, I would find, to do it separately.
That's right. I mean, you are using a musician's ear at some point, and you become more than a recording engineer. I mean, or you become a musician and recording engineer. I shouldn't say more than. And you go through and sometimes if you lock in the numbers perfectly, it doesn't sound right. And so it does make sense to tweak it, and you are listening for, there are moments where like, ooh, that sounds a little bit too computerized.
Yeah, no, but my question really is more from the flip side, from the singing perspective, from a singer perspective.
I mean, I lay down the track as I hear it, and people sing with me. I mean, nothing fancy. I
guess the question is, when you're doing this yourself, think about yourself not being the musician / arranger, but you just being a participant singer.
Right. How do you approach it?
Do you feel that you can tune as well with the audio as you can with live with other people?
Sure, that's a good question. Yeah, I mean, there is something you're missing. I mean, when I sing with a guide track, I usually sing with somebody else's. So if I'm for the Ginter Park Choir things, just kind of keeping my musician skills sort of tuned. But I'll sing with an alto track and sing the bass part, because I prefer doing that than hearing my own self sing my own part in my ear with a metronome. So yeah, and I mean, it's interesting. There's definitely a loss there, and maybe some of that you try to recover from the audio engineer side is you're not hearing those parts you're playing with. You're not hearing as a bass, you're not hearing that beautiful alto line that sings with you just so magically, because you don't hear it. All you hear is your own part. So yeah, that's an interesting point. It does sort of put it on the engineer, and sometimes you do that. Sometimes I will do that with a video. We'll highlight 2 parts singing together because these 2 parts work together. They didn't know it when they were singing their own parts, but yeah, that is, and it's interesting with the video making. I think that's and maybe Martha's found the same thing. Like that's one of the things you find you want to do is bring out this beautiful musical thing that's happening that you can't begin to, or you don't, it's not apparent when you look at a screen full of faces like Zoom. But if you look at one tenor and one soprano singing together, you get an idea of this thing happening, and we really can zoom in on this musical moment. And that's where the video can be really neat, is you're watching a choral concert and you might hear it, you might see the body inflections and things like that, but with these weird music videos, we can really draw attention to this beautiful thing that happens in this moment that maybe the typical listener wouldn't have noticed in a performance, which is pretty cool. I like to know that we'll have this bank of video choir recordings for the future, because it's I think going to be a pretty interesting way to learn about pieces, and it's a pretty interesting way to like, I lost interest early on in all the versions of How Can I Keep Singing, even though I think like it's a beautiful piece and love people that did it, but I didn't want to sing like songs about singing. I wanted to sing that weird stuff that is so hard to make work in real life, like that could really work beautifully, and you could bring out what's extraordinary about all these interesting pieces that are just are such a pain to get to work in real life. And so
Yeah.
that's what fascinates me more than I mean, the really healthy, warm sort of, probably the better thing to do would be, let's all sing together and let's enjoy each other. But I was like, no, I want to sing crazy things. And yeah. I don't know. Other questions, or?
I think we better close. We're
Yeah.
we're 20 till.
Oh yeah. Delightful. Thank
Let me
you.
close with an idea. Someone has written, when we sing, we pray twice.
It's Martin Luther.
It was, I don't know. But,
Pray 11 times. That
yeah.
one for each.
Well,
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 this is,
Doug, thank you very much.
yes.
oh, thank